Hey everyone, it's Kate, and it's bag making month at the Confident Stitch. And today I am interviewing Ellie Lum of Klum House Bag Patterns, and she's going to show us how to install her double cap rivets. I'm filming on Facebook Live and YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel if you want to learn more about sewing and quilting. As I said, May's theme is bag making, and we're calling it Totally Awesome. Get it? And the giveaway this month is some wax canvas, a pattern, and hardware to make this really cool DOP kit, which is a pattern that Ellie designed. It's a really fun pattern, and this is a really great kit. A kit for a kit. And the question of the month is, how do you personalize your bags to suit you better? All you need to do is answer the question in the comments below, and we will enter you to win this kit. Last month's winner of the mending kit was Mary Lou Clark. She recycles, composts, refashions, and rides an e-bike in order to protect the environment. Today's confident shout out goes to Alexis of Ardea Supply, who made a pair of Florence pants from Elizabeth Suzanne out of our lyocell twill in Woodrose. I just love them. She's one of our local customers who I love seeing her when she comes in the shop. So welcome, Ellie. You started as a professional bag maker. Why did you decide to start a pattern company? And when did you start Klum House Bags?
Hi, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. So I started a Klum House in 2005. And prior to running Klum House, I ran a custom messenger bag company called Reload Bags. And I ran that in Philly and in San Francisco and Seattle. So I moved from running that business, and then I went to school for adult learning theory, experiential learning, and started Klum House really with those two skill sets.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing to me, all the skills that the independent pattern companies bring to the field. I mean, your professional sewing and then adult learning, that is just great. Those are two great skills to have in order to teach people to make bags.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our greater purpose is really that if people learn skills, they build more confidence, they feel more empowered, and they have a more creative life. And then we also really think it's important to help people understand how things are made. It really goes in line with our value of sustainability.
Right. I think it's really important too, because when people understand how hard it is to make things, they realize that paying $11 for a t-shirt or $5 for a t-shirt is not sustainable, and the person who sewed that is not making any money, and it takes a real skill to do it.
Absolutely, Kate. I think that I think we are really part of, like, your business and mine, really that resurgence of being a maker and being a stitcher and folding that into your everyday life.
Yeah. So I love how you are anchored in Portland, Oregon, and how much the Pacific Northwest comes through in all of your social media and your bags. How has your location shaped Klum House?
Oh, that's such a great question. Thank you. I actually grew up in California and was living in Berkeley prior to moving to Portland, and wanted to live in a city that I knew I could start a sewing school in, and that I knew there would be a lot of culture around being a maker, and in a city where I felt like local economy was really valued.
Mm-hmm.
And we absolutely love how beautiful it is here too. So my husband, who's in the cycling industry, and then I'm in the creative industry, we really felt like we'd be able to grow our businesses in Portland and also work with like-minded people. I'm really into collaboration, and there's just so many artists and small businesses in Portland. And so it's a very welcoming environment for us to do sewing. And there's also so much heritage here for sewing in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've taken a whole bunch of Palmer Pletch classes in Portland and learned so much about fitting.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in the East Bay myself.
Awesome.
So I am also from California.
Oh, I miss the weather there.
Right. I know. So, I know that you really had to pivot because of COVID, because you did a lot of hands-on classes, and you've had to, have you moved into and had to get into smaller space? What are the pivots you've made because of COVID?
Yeah, so you're right. We did teach a lot of in-person classes. We were running 3 classes a week, sometimes 4.
Wow.
There's a couple teachers here. It was so fun to really interact with people from the beginning of their sewing journey and even into bag design. I would teach some bag sewing and design intensives.
Wow.
So of course we had to totally clear our schedule last year, and I was rescheduling people for months and months. And finally we all were like, you know what, this isn't going to happen anytime soon, you know?
Right.
So we really had to ramp up our website. We were already rebuilding our site, thank God. And we had already sold things online. So we just really focused on that. But it was really hard to make the transition. And actually the studio I'm in now, we've stayed in this studio, but we've totally transformed it. It used to be our sewing school. Now it's our shipping and fulfillment warehouse.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot the past year and a half or so on how to pivot the business and what's important to me as a business owner, and how to stay active with showing up for employees and the community too.
Right. Yeah. I have as well. And really pivoted to making videos, which I hadn't done before the pandemic hit. And we'd always had a website, but it has really really ramped up for us, and that's been great. So how do you plan to go back to in-person teaching? Do you have a plan, or what do you think is going to happen?
So I think if and when we do, we'll get into a larger studio, which we're looking for right now. And we'll get a little more into teaching retreats and intensives versus like classes all the time.
Right.
I'm really interested in like this deeper, more course-like learning structure too, coming from the background that I have on curriculum development and learning theory. I really want to be able to share my skills on a deeper level with people. So I'm really designing what that might look like.
Oh, that's great. It's kind of great that you've had the time to think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really, I'm actually sitting in our classroom right now. So we've changed our classroom into a filming studio. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to be able to pivot back to in-person learning. And I need to get machines. I need to move my filming studio so that we can teach in this room again. So we've had to be very agile as small businesses over the last year.
Absolutely. And I think it's cool that you have been able to build that studio. And also, I don't know about you, but I've really seen people get a lot more confident being able to learn online too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah. So are you ready to show us how to install the double cap rivets?
Yeah, let's work on that. I'll go ahead and put my laptop camera down on my work surface so folks can see what I'm doing.
Cool. Yeah, and anything else if you want to show us some of your bags, we would love to learn whatever you would love to teach us.
Sounds good. Yeah. So let's look at the Woodland Dock Kit, which is one of our beginner patterns. And there's leather on it, but all the leather is attached with rivets. So we'll talk about that. I really like to add leather and rivets to a bag. I think it gives it a professional look, and I really like teaching these skills. All the bags are designed to teach at certain skill levels, and they're really a baseline and that people can like riff on and do their thing with as time goes on, and then they learn the techniques. So double cap rivets, they look the same on both sides, and they're used often to attach leather and finishes to bags because a lot of times that leather is too thick to sew it on. And also the harder gives it that nice little bling, you know? So you'll see also on the Fremont tote, it uses double cap rivets, and it also actually uses some Chicago screws on the side. But the double cap rivets on the Fremont tote have some leather washers on the inside as a reinforcement. And just to make sure folks understand double cap rivets versus tubular rivets, this is the Maywood, and this bag is a backpack. I'm like, where's my camera? And it's also its bag.
Yeah.
So you know, so it transforms. But tubular rivets, they look like they have a star shape on the back, and then the front of them actually looks like a double cap rivet. So those are set differently. They're a little bit stronger than double cap rivets, but double cap rivets are really strong also. So we're going to focus on double cap rivets just in my demo.
Excellent.
And let me go ahead and put this down here. And there we go. Okay. So the main tools that you need to set rivets or attach rivets to your bags are, you need a way to punch holes. So that can be a drive punch, which a 3/32 drive punch is great for punching holes in fabric for double cap rivets. And then you also want a punching board or a cutting board, right? So think about when you're in your kitchen, you never want to use your knife on just your counter. You usually grab a cutting board if you're chopping your vegetables. And then you would want to hit your drive punch with a mallet, right? So we like to use a mallet when we're hitting metal tools to set things or to cut holes, because we want to transfer the force of our blow effectively from the tool all the way down to the hole that we're trying to punch. So, and also to preserve your metal tools, it's best to hit them with a mallet instead of a hammer. So that's one way to punch a hole. So let's go ahead and I'll move this, and we'll punch a hole just in this scrap fabric here. Okay. So I just punched a hole through 3 layers there. Another way to make a hole is with a rotary punch. And this is a hydraulic assist rotary punch that we sell on our site. And actually, one of these things is making a different sized hole, right? So these are barrels. And then, so this is one size hole, 3/32. And then you get, this is the 3/32 hole there. You get lots of options, right? Because depending on the hardware that you're setting, you need a different hole, you know, for the hardware. So let's talk about what I mean by that really quick before I show you how to use this. This is a double cap rivet. And double cap meaning that it has 2 caps like that. And it's set essentially by smashing this rivet post down with the cap attached, right? And whatever work you want sandwiched between these 2 caps. So what actually goes into your bag or your leather on a double cap rivet is the post, right? So then, for instance, here is a piece of a leather tab from a Woodland Dock Kit. And there's the rivet post going through, right? So I'm I want to choose what size hole do I want to punch. It should be a hole that allows the post to go through the leather and fabric, but not so big that the cap goes through also. right? And so a good
Yeah.
size for double cap rivet posts are 3 30-second holes. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have a rotary punch, you want to punch a hole that's the size of the post. So that would be, you could go this one or this one, but fabric, as we know, you can push something through and it will expand because of the weave. So I'll just go with the smaller one, which is the 3 30-seconds. And then I just squeezed it to make a hole. You kind of heard the little click. Again, these are easier to squeeze than the ones you usually find on the market because it has a hydraulic assist. Yeah, so I sourced that special.
Yeah, that's great.
Now I have some holes and I want to be able to attach my leather tab. I'm just using some scrap here but imagine that you are on this step on your woodland here. Okay. So I'm going to take my rivet with this post, push it through the leather, and then push that through my fabric, and I'm going to attach the cap. But this isn't set yet. I have to actually smash it. So there's 2 different ways to do that, and I'll go ahead and show you both ways. So when you're setting a rivet, you should never work on a cutting board. A cutting board is not a hard surface, it's a cutting surface. So I actually see this mistake all the time. So now that we're done cutting a hole, we should put this aside and we should work on a hard surface, like a stone slab.
Okay.
Right? So now I'm going to go ahead and sit my work down on this. And honestly, you don't even need a mallet or a rivet setter. You could just set your rivet with a hammer. Wow. So that is because, so let's just back up a second. You guys probably remember me saying use a mallet with your cutting tool. Because when you are using, okay, so this is a rivet setter and it would go on top of my rivet. So when you are using a setting tool, then you should use a mallet. When you are just setting your rivet and not using a tool, you can use a hammer. Now you could also use a mallet, but you can use a hammer. So let's talk about why you would choose the two. We can revisit what I said before is you want to transfer your blow effectively. So if I was hitting this with a hammer, it would actually bounce off and that bounce would be taking my force into the bounce. It wouldn't actually be transferring my force all the way down the shaft of my setting tool in order to set my rivet, which essentially just means smashing the rivet, right? Like the post kind of mushrooms out in the cap, and that's how it holds the cap on. So you would be working extra hard setting a hammer, using a hammer with a rivet setter, and you would be getting the most effective force transfer with a mallet to the setter, which then pushes the force all the way through to the double cap rivet. Now, so now that's not to say that this wouldn't work. It just doesn't work as well. So if I am teaching you the best way, it would be rivet setter and mallet if you're using a rivet setter. But I actually think that setting double cap rivets with just a hammer looks just as good, and you'll be able to see that in a second. I'll just do one and one then the other, and you can look at them. So let's just go ahead and set this with a hammer. Okay. Now the first thing I want to do is make sure that my rivet is not crooked, right? So I don't want it sort of like halfway off or anything under. So I just want it to be vertical. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to go in and hit it super, super hard to start. I'm going to coax it down, because if you go to hit a double cap rivet really hard to start, you can kick it sideways and then you get not a rivet. So let's just do like light to medium taps. And then I can start to see it set down, like smash down, and then I'll hit it a little bit harder. But I'm going to go ahead and mute you all for that.
Cool.
So I know that it's set because I can see the rivet slightly indented into the leather. There's the back too. So if we wanted to set this with a rivet setter, I'll go ahead and show you that. First, I need to make a hole in my fabric. I'm gonna grab my other rivet. It doesn't matter if I put it in from this direction or the other direction. Since it's a double cap rivet, both sides are the same. And then here's my cap. Okay, so you would use a rivet setter if you want to preserve the roundness of the rivet cap, which is not very round, but people do like to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my dot anvil on the bottom side of this, and it's slightly concave, and that will preserve the roundness of the rivet on this side. And then, but I really don't want my rivet to slide around on my dot anvil, so I'm really holding it down on both sides. Then I'm going to take my rivet setter, which is slightly concave on one end, and that's the side that gets vertically aligned with my rivet cap. And then I'm going to grab my mallet and do the same thing. I'm going to coax it down and hit it a couple times a little harder at the end. So I'll mute you all for that.
So cool.
And I could really see it and feel it smash down. And I don't know if the camera is doing justice to this, but you can tell that this one is slightly more rounded and that's more flat. Same on the back. Honestly, it's such a minimal difference. And I really think that one of the most important things is being able to use the tools that you have if possible. And so most people have a hammer in their house. Well, all you really need is a hammer to be able to set that rivet.
That is great. I love the advice of hitting it kind of medium for the first couple times, because I have smashed down really hard and my rivets kind of get sideways, and I'm not happy. Yeah, that's great. It's so easy. We could all do it.
Yeah, I really think setting double cap rivets, especially on the DOP kit, is a really amazing beginner pattern. Honestly, I've seen people make these like start to finish in a few hours, even if they've never even touched a sewing machine.
Wow. Yeah. And we have a lot of big DOP kit fans in our customer base, and come Christmas time, they'll make one, no, they'll make maybe two, and then they'll just start production, and they'll make 10 for all their gifts.
It's so addictive. And also you can like personalize it here if you just use like a leather stamp set, and put, whoever's name it is or whatever. So that's just another way to really make it giftable. And I've seen a lot of people too, like take the inside raw edges, and instead of zigzag them, they'll add a little fun like binding, a little like cotton print on there. And that's really fun to do too. And you could do that when the bag is finished.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they turn out really great. And it's just also a great way to practice your zipper installation. I mean, after you make a few of these, you're going to be much more confident about installing zippers as well.
Yes, exactly.
And I love that you have commissioned YKK to make the exact right size of zippers. We carry them, and they're really, really popular.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really love this zipper with the large hole in the slider. It has really well. It's very durable.
Yes, and you picked great colors also for the zipper tape.
Super fun to just have that sort of muted, natural colored rainbow. Yeah.
Yes, it goes well with the wax canvas, so it's great.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Kate. Is there any questions about the demo, or would anyone like to know anything else?
I wonder if our few viewers have any questions, but they're saying awesome and saying that they love Klum House, and we really love your company here at the Confident Stitch, and I super appreciate you coming on with me.
Of course. Yeah. Really fun to get to know everyone.
Yes, and I look forward to seeing you in person again someday.
I know. I feel like we're so close,
I
to
know.
it. I can taste it.
I know. I
Super
know.
exciting. Well,
I
I'm glad
know.
sewing got us through the pandemic. I feel like sewing has really been a lifesaver for so many people I know. Such a
Yeah.
great creative outlet that you can do at home, like a
Right.
great way to pass the time. Like, I just feel like it really, a lot of people fell in love with sewing again in the past year, and that makes me so happy.
I know. Yes, me too. So I will be back next Saturday at 9:30 a.m. I'm going to show you some new pre-cut quilt binding we just started carrying and a really great quilt binding tool. So I hope to see you again on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time. And until then, bye for now, and I'll see you soon.